After her speech entitled Why Does the History of Rape Matter? Historian by background Dr. Catherine Burns, who is based at Witwatersrand Institute for Social and Economic Research, otherwise known as WISER, gave an incisive account to Genderlinks about the history of the word rape, how it came into being, and why Women's Month is an important month for commemoration.
It's very interesting to think about the history of the word rape, isn't it? Because in the English language and in many other languages that draw from Latin, its root comes from a word that meant to seize, to take away something violently. And it didn't specifically refer to sex acts at all. And gradually over time, the most terrible form of seizing from anyone else came to not be seen mainly as possessions, like a house or a chariot or, a bolt of cloth would have been in the olden days, but actually the personality and the honor of one person. But in the ancient times, before modern times, the most serious form of seizing was taking away the personality and the sexual expression of a woman who is owned or belongs to another man. And therefore the insult is double. It's a terrible insult to the woman. This is in European medieval culture and many others. But it's a dreadful insult to her father or to her husband-to-be or to her brother. So it was a way of powerfully affecting a woman and the person that was considered her patriarchal protector. And that's how gradually over time it came to be seen as almost the worst crime you can do, save murder. And in some cultures it was considered worse than murder, because you've not only killed the autonomy of one person, but the person who is her male protector. It's very hard to think of how a society that isn't patriarchal could also be a society that has a rape culture. So even though the gender order of South Africa on paper is one in which people are all equal, in reality this is not experienced by anybody. Even middle-class people who've got resources and who have all sorts of entitlements in our society are struggling to bring about gender equality in their lives. And so we have to try and understand, why is South Africa such a powerful patriarchy? Because it isn't in law anymore. Our law, our constitution is actually very, very advanced around gender equality. But the gap between that and between our lived practice every day, that gap is very, very great. And it's a wider gap than many other countries in the world. And that's the struggle. And we cannot therefore use the law always as an instrument to bring about gender justice. We have to get out in the streets again. We have to start talking and struggling. We have to work in our families and communities, and we have to do a lot of work in our heads to bring about gender equality. It's very important to have consistent and ongoing discussions and dialogues about rape and about sexual-based violence. And as we build up to this annual holiday that's based on Women's March to Pretoria to demand the cessation of women being forced to carry passes, specifically women of color, which comes up on August the 9th every year, it's very important for us to think about rape as something that affects men and women. Women's Month is important because it forces people to stop and take stock in South Africa of where women have come from 1956 to the present. We've come a long way, and many men have helped in that journey, but a lot of women and a lot of men are still extremely confused about the autonomy and the freedom that women have earned through the struggle. And so I think it's still very worth pausing to ask every August the 9th, who are women in South Africa and where are we going?